In this video, I will offer my suggestions for the best LEGO gifts to give that special someone this holiday season. If you haven't already watched my video about the best way to save money purchasing LEGO, I recommend checking that out first. I'm going to split my list into age groups and give you a few options at different price points. Check the description below for exact timestamps for each age group and links to purchase each product I mention. Without further ado, let's get into the list. If you're buying for a toddler, then your options are limited to Duplo sets. This isn't a problem because there are plenty to choose from. For under $50, there are some great licensed sets like the Toy Story Train, Elsa and Olaf's Tea Party, the Batcave, and Superheroes Lab. All feature great licensed figures, most of which are exclusive to these sets. On the unlicensed side, I really like the soft pastel style sets. For under $50, you can pick up the Playroom or the Bakery. Moving on to the next price tier, if your child likes Frozen but the Elsa Tea Party set just ain't cutting it, then you have a great option here with the Frozen Ice Castle, which includes the same Elsa and Olaf figures with the addition of Anna. Staying within the Disney theme, Mickey's Vacation House is another cool set because you get a nice cast of characters, and this set is expected to retire after this year, so it might be a good time to pick it up. On the unlicensed side, I like the Wrecking Ball Demolition set. We surprisingly don't get a lot of construction sets in Duplo, so this one's pretty cool. If you liked those pastel style sets from the previous price tier, then you will probably like this very cool modular house. Lots of great detail, including soft fabrics. Last on my list in this price tier, and easily my favorite set for this age group, the Steam Train. This thing is awesome. It's battery powered, there are little trigger bricks that your child can place along the track to make the train perform special maneuvers, and it makes sound. If you like this set, then there are two companion sets to consider, Train Tracks and the Train Bridge, which can extend the playability of this awesome set. Moving on to the $100 plus price range, your options are more limited. The only set I really recommend here at this tier is the World Animals, but I really think you're better off picking up one or two sets at the lower price tiers before splurging on this guy. If your child is between the ages of 4 and 12, then congratulations, they are the target market for LEGO sets, and you have the fortunate, or maybe unfortunate, job of selecting the perfect gift from a massive library of products. Before we get too far, let me reiterate a point I made in my other video. Before making any purchases, you must take an inventory of what your child already owns. You don't want to get them a set that they already have, or a set that they just don't care about at all. I'll discuss theming a little bit more as we work through the list, so let's just get into it. For under $50, you have countless options, so let me break it down by theme. For DC superheroes, I like the Batmobile Pursuit of the Joker. It comes with a solid Batmobile build and your two classic characters, Batman and Joker. If your kiddo is on the younger side, then check out the Batman and Joker Escape set that is designed for younger builders. These sets are labeled 4+, 4 and up, and I'll have a few of these throughout the list that I'll mention. Moving on to City, I think the ice cream truck is a very cool set. Just be aware that there are a lot of stickers to apply here. If your child is into space, then look no further than the Mars Research Shuttle. Very cool build at a nice price point. Last suggestion for this price point, if you find that your younger builder is more interested in minifigures, then there are two minifigure packs that you can buy, one that is carnival themed and one that is space themed. These can help populate your little one's town. Next up is Disney. You have a mixture of Disney Princess and Toy Story sets to choose from. The Toy Story sets are aimed at younger builders, and the Disney Princess sets include mini dolls and not minifigures. I personally detest these mini dolls, but if your child already owns some, they might not mind them. For Disney Princess, there are these Polly Pocket style storybook adventure sets that are pretty neat. There are 4 to choose from: Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, and The Little Mermaid. For Toy Story, there's not a great set that gives you a nice cast of characters, so I can only really recommend Duke Kaboom's Stunt Show for its playability, but there's a better set at the $50 price point, so stay tuned for that. Moving on to Harry Potter, I think The Rise of Voldemort is the best at this price point because you get the main hero Harry and the main antagonist Voldemort. But if you really want to help your child get some more minifigures, then you can add some Harry Potter collectible minifigures to their stocking this year. Just be aware that these are blind bags, which means that you have no idea what they're getting until they open the packaging, so you run the risk of getting a duplicate character. Hidden Side is a pretty interesting theme from LEGO that's perfect if your kid is constantly on their phone. The concept here is that your child will use their phone or tablet to interact with the set once it's built. It's gimmicky, yes, but if your kid is into creepy, gross, spooky stuff and you can't get them off your phones, then you might want to check these out. At this price point, I think the Rex Shrimp Boat is the coolest. You can get both main characters from this theme, their little dog, and one of the best villains in the series, the zombified Shrimp Boat Captain. Jurassic World is up next, and it's slim pickings at $50. The only set worth buying is the Velociraptor Biplane Rescue Mission, but this is intended for younger builders. Moving on to Super Mario, I think this theme will be at the top of a lot of kids' wish lists this year, and if that applies to your kid, then I need to explain something very important to you. None of these sets work without the starter kit. That's right, you need to pay the $60 entry fee to get that electronic Mario that only comes in the starter kit in order to get any kind of playability out of any of these other sets. So assuming your child already owns the starter kit, or you're going to get it for them this year, then there are some cool options to add to that experience at this price point. I like Mario's house and Yoshi for the way it looks and the fact that it includes Yoshi. I also have to recommend the Piranha Plant Power Slide. As much as I don't like the look of this thing, I have been informed that this is one of the better sets for playability. There are some cool character packs that would make great stocking stuffers. These work the same way as the Harry Potter blind bags. You don't know what you're going to get until you open them, but I think that's less of a problem with these because multiple baddies just adds to playability. Marvel is up next, and I really love these mechs at this price point. These are super cheap and currently only 3 to collect: Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Thanos. There's another wave of these on its way next year, so if your kids like these, then you'll have some good options come birthday time or next holiday season. If you have a younger builder, then I recommend the Menace of Mysterio. Next up is Minecraft. I think your best bet are the minifig scale sets like the Chicken Coop, the Panda Nursery, and my personal favorite, the End Battle. Steer clear of the big fig sets unless your kid asks for them specifically. Moving on to Minions, which is a very small theme. There are only 2 options here, and I think the brick-built Minions lair is far superior to the Unstoppable Bike Chase. The lair is technically at the $50 price point, but I figured I would just mention it here so I don't have to mention it later. Next up is Monkey Kid, and I would only recommend buying from this theme if you know your child watches the show or has specifically asked for these. All of these sets in this theme are pretty expensive for what you get, and there's only one option at this price point, the White Dragon Horse Bike. I would treat Ninjago the same as Monkey Kid unless your child watches the show or has asked specifically for a Ninjago Lego. Then don't pay any mind to this theme. It's difficult for me to recommend anything from this theme because I'm unfamiliar with the property, but the Samurai Mech, Kai's Mech Jet, and the Golden Mech stand out to me at least. We're getting close to the end of the $50 price point, and up next is Speed Champions. I know a lot of adults love this theme, and I think it's excellent for kids as well. There are plenty of sets that are affordable, but beware that you will be applying a ton of stickers to these. All that being said, I like the 1975 Porsche 911 Turbo the most, but I don't think you can go wrong with any of these other cars. Onto one of the largest LEGO themes and my personal favorite, Star Wars. I can't recommend the action battle sets enough. There is one for Endor and one for Hoth at this price point. These have the best playability of any Star Wars set in my opinion. If you have a younger builder, then the X-Wing Starfighter Trench Run is a perfect set. Another great option if you're doing your holiday shopping early is the Star Wars Advent Calendar. There are some excellent exclusive figures this year, and it's something your child can enjoy each day leading up to Christmas. Last theme to look at this price point, Trolls World Tour. I'm unfamiliar with this property, but the Rainbow Catterbus looks the coolest to me at this price point. Alright, ready to do that all again, but at the $50 to $100 price point? I sure am. Let's get into it. For DC superheroes, you don't have a ton of options, but I like Joker's Trike Chase because it comes with your classic Batman and Robin versus Joker and Harley Quinn. Each duo gets their own vehicle. I think it's a well-balanced set at a nice price point. Moving over to City, and you have a few more options in this price range, but the Fire Station is the only one I would really recommend. If your child is into space, police, or anything else city related, then you're better off in the sub $50 price range. Disney has very little going on above $50, but I feel like I must give a nod to Elsa's Magic Ice Palace. Even though it contains those dreaded mini dolls, and before anyone rages down the comments, I'm half joking about these mini dolls. I'm a minifigure purist, but there is nothing wrong with mini dolls unless your kid is a minifigure purist like me. Next up, Harry Potter. There are a lot of nice sets in this price range, but my 2 favorite are Hagrid's Hut and Hogwarts Express. Both depict hallmarks from the series and include some great minifigures to boot. Moving on to Hidden Side, and the shrimp theme continues. I like the Shrimp Shack Attack, which has those classic diner feels along with some excellent zombified characters. Remember when I said Jurassic World was lackluster at the sub $50 price range? Yeah, well, nothing much changes when you step up to this price range. The problem with these sets is that they are based off of a Jurassic World themed LEGO movie that I'm assuming not many people saw. So while some of the characters like Owen and Claire are recognizable, most of the other characters and scenes are not. But who am I kidding? You're buying these for the dinos, so with that in mind, I recommend the Triceratops Rampage. This is the only set in the entire series to include a full-grown Triceratops, which surprised me when I first figured that out. Next up, we're looking at Super Mario again, and if you remember what I told you from the first time we talked about this theme, you need the starter kit. Don't mess around with anything else until you obtain the starter kit. Moving on to Marvel, and I think the obvious choice here is the Avengers Tower, but if you have a younger builder, then I would opt for the Avengers Wrath of Loki. On to Minecraft again, and at this price point, the crafting box is a very cool option. Instead of a specific scene, this set gives your kid a chance to use their imagination and build a home base for their hero. I think this most closely mimics the fun that you can experience while playing the actual game. Next up, Monkey Kid, and most of these sets from this theme fall in this price range. Not being familiar with the property, I'm going off of looks, and the Demon Bull King looks the coolest to me, with Pigsy Food Truck as a close second. Time to talk about Ninjago again, and I've been told the Monastery of Spinjitzu is a very great set for kids who love Ninjago. That being said, Lloyd's Titan Mech speaks to me personally. The one thing I do know about Ninjago is that Lloyd is the main character and kids love him. Speed Champions is up next, but I wouldn't recommend either set at this price point. Just give your kid one or more of the cars that I mentioned at the sub $50 tier. Moving on to Star Wars, I was surprised how few sets were available at this price point that are geared towards kids. There's another action battle set at this price point, but I think you'd be better off getting the two that I mentioned previously, and honestly, that's it. There's a big shift coming to Star Wars next year. The ships will have less detail and will be much more affordable for kids. I recommend saving your Star Wars purchases until next year or just picking up some of the cheaper sets that I already mentioned. Now, similar to Toddlers, your options are way more limited above $100, and I would only recommend purchasing these sets if you plan on building them as a family. For DC superheroes, you have one option, and a good one I think. The Batcave Clayface Invasion is a very cool version of the Batcave, and you get a nice mix of heroes and villains. If you want a city set, then you can't go wrong with a good old police station. Just be aware that LEGO releases police stations and fire stations just about every year, so these will always be available as a fallback if you need it. Moving on to Harry Potter, there are 3 equally cool sets at this $100 price point: Attack on Burrow, Hogwarts Astronomy Tower, and the Hogwarts Great Hall. The Astronomy Tower and Great Hall actually combine with other sets to form a massive Hogwarts experience. If you think your kid would enjoy that, but you can't get them both, then I would recommend getting the Hogwarts Great Hall first because it's expected to retire soon. If you liked the Hidden Side concept, then you have 2 large sets available at the $100 price point: the Mystery Castle and the Newberry Haunted High School. I personally think the high school looks cooler, but something important to note about the Hidden Side theme that I probably should have mentioned earlier: the entire series is expected to retire after this year. So if you're considering saving some of these for a birthday or another event after the holidays, I wouldn't wait around. Back to Jurassic World, and this is probably the only set I like from the theme from this year: the Indominus Rex and Ankylosaurus. This set is from the Jurassic World movie, and the first one, and you can get the main cast of characters from that movie as well. Moving on to Super Mario, and I know I'm a broken record, but I must repeat myself: buy the starter kit first, buy the starter kit first. Once you've done that, Bowser's Castle is a very nice expansion set that lets your kid pit their Mario figure against the big bad Bowser. Next up is Marvel again, and I have to say I'm not impressed with the 2 options at this price tier. I would recommend going to the Avengers Tower battle that I mentioned before, and using the extra cash to buy a cheaper set. I'm going to skip over Monkey Kid and Ninjago because while they're options above $100, I can't honestly recommend any of them without knowing more about the shows that they are based on. If you know your kid is into either of these properties, your best bet is just showing them their options and having them decide. And last, but certainly not least, Star Wars. Just like the previous price point, it's hard to recommend any of these sets knowing that cheaper options are on their way next year. But there is one standout: the Razor Crest from the new Mandalorian show on Disney+. If your kid likes this show, then this is a great set to get. It includes your main cast of characters, most importantly, Baby Yoda. I highly doubt this ship will get a cheaper re-release, which is why I feel comfortable recommending it for this year. Moving on to our last age group, teens and adults, there are fewer options available for this age group at the lower price tiers, but I'll spice in some sets that are more geared towards the kid age bracket that teens and adults would enjoy just as much. Like I said, it's slim pickings under $50, but there are some options. Brickheads are a nice cheap option, but some people really dislike these, so double check to see if your special someone has at least one of these already. I like the seasonal ones personally, and what could be better for the holidays than a Nutcracker? If you're purchasing for a Star Wars fan, then The Mandalorian and the Child is another great option. From Harry Potter, this Hedwig model comes in under $50, and it makes a nice display piece. I also recommend the Harry Potter collectible minifigure packs for stocking stuffers. Teens and adults should love these as well. Brick sketches are also an option, but a lot of people don't like these, so unless you know that the person you're buying for has one of these already or specifically asked for one, I would avoid these. For Marvel, I'm going to recommend the same mechs I mentioned for kids. They are great sets and highly collectible. Same deal for Speed Champions. Any of those cheaper cars sets would make excellent gifts for a teen or adult who is into automotives. Moving on to Star Wars, there are a few options. If your special someone is a fan of The Mandalorian on Disney+, then the Mandalorian Battle Pack is a nice, cheap option. I also like the Microfighters line within Star Wars. They are small, cheap sets, but very collectible. But one of the most sought-after sets this year will undoubtedly be the 501st Legion Clone Troopers. This set is sold out on LEGO.com and very difficult to track down at third-party retailers. Before you go looking for it, it appeals to a very specific Star Wars fan, someone that likes the Clone Wars animated series. If you know that applies to the person you're purchasing for, then I think it's worth the hunt. Last theme at this price range, architecture is also a cool theme for teens and adults. I'm particularly fond of the Skyline series, which offers a nice miniature display of iconic city skylines. Las Vegas and London are available at this price point, and many are right above this tier, and so I'll mention those very soon. At $50 to $100, your options open up a little bit more, but I'll be honest, most of the really good stuff is above $100. That being said, here are a few options at this price point. The Creator Expert line has some of the best generic sets for older LEGO fans. If all you know about the person you're buying for is that they are a teen or adult who likes LEGO, then I would spend your money on this theme. That being said, the only option at this price range is the Fiat 500. Not a bad set by any means, but for just a little bit more, your options really open up, so stay tuned for this theme at the next price tier. For Harry Potter, I think the Hogwarts Express is equally great for kids and adults, especially if the person you're buying for is fond of trains. We haven't talked about the Ideas theme yet, but there are some excellent options here for teens and adults, even at this price point. There's a mixture of random licensed and unlicensed properties within Ideas, so I recommend checking out the full catalog on LEGO.com to see what's available. My personal favorite at this price point is the Flintstones. It's a very cool set from a universally popular kids show. The figures alone make it worth buying. For Marvel, I'll mention the Avengers Tower again. It's a perfect gift for kids and adults alike. Getting back to Star Wars, there's a series of helmet sets at this price point that are nice for older collectors. The Boba Fett helmet in particular is a standout. Another option is the Child, aka Buildable Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian. I'm personally not a fan of this set, but it could make a great gift for someone who is a hardcore Baby Yoda fan. And the final theme at this price point, architecture. The Skyline series I mentioned before has a lot of great options at this price point. I don't think you could go wrong with any of them, honestly. Wow, we are nearly done this list. Kudos to you if you made it all the way through. Last but certainly not least are some of the best sets that LEGO has to offer in terms of detail, build quality, and all-around display ability. If you really want to wow the LEGO fan in your life this holiday season, I would spend your money on one of these $100 plus sets. I also note that these sets make excellent family gifts. Starting off with architecture, you have some US landmarks, the White House, Statue of Liberty, and Empire State Building. These are, in my opinion, some of the weakest options at this price tier, but would make gifts for someone who really loves any of these locations. On to Creator Expert, which, as I mentioned before, offers some of the best options at this price point. I could probably do a whole video just on this line, but I'll offer some of my favorites here. The Gingerbread House, Winter Village Fire Station, and Elf Club House are all from the Winter Village series. LEGO releases one of these every year, and they make a perfect holiday annual gift. I would recommend the Gingerbread House because it's becoming very difficult to find this year. The next mini theme is the Vehicle series, where you've got the Volkswagen Beetle, Harley-Davidson Fat Boy, Volkswagen T1 Camper Van, London Bus, Ford Mustang, and James Bond Aston Martin DB5. I think the Ford Mustang, VW Beetle, and VW Camper Van are the best out of this bunch, unless the person you're buying for has an affinity towards James Bond, motorcycles, or the UK. The other mini theme I'll mention is the Modular Building series. This mini theme has been running for over 10 years, and like the Winter Village series, LEGO releases one of these every year, so they are another great option for a recurring annual gift. The Downtown Diner and Assembly Square are difficult to find this year, so you might be better off buying the Corner Garage or the Bookshop. The last set I'll mention from the Creator Expert line is the Crocodile Locomotive. It's the perfect gift for any train enthusiast and cool enough that it would please any teen or adult LEGO fan. Okay, moving on to DC superheroes, and we have two Batman vehicles available at this price tier, the Batmobile and the Batwing. If you think these would make great gift options, I would recommend picking up the Batmobile first. The Batwing just came out, so you can wait on that for a future birthday or holiday. The Batmobile should retire soon, so I'd recommend picking that one up first. Next up is Disney, and while you have three options here, the standout is the Disney Castle. This is becoming very difficult to find, but you should be able to get it if you just stay vigilant. In case you're curious, the other two sets available are the Disney Train and Station, the good option if the person you're buying for already owns the castle, and the Mickey and Minnie buildable figures, which are neat little display pieces but very overpriced in my mind. Back over to Harry Potter, where you have two massive sets to choose from, the Hogwarts Castle and Diagon Alley. The Hogwarts Castle is the better set in my opinion, but be aware that not only are these two sets very expensive, they also take up a ton of room. So if the person you're buying for is living in a small space, you might want to opt for the Hogwarts Express or something that I mentioned before in the kids section. Next up is ideas, and there are 4 options at this price point. They're all equally fantastic in my mind. For any classic Pirates fan, there is Pirates of Barracuda Bay. 2 great generic options for someone who doesn't have a strong affinity for something like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, or anything else are the Treehouse and the Grand Piano. Both large builds and extremely detailed. Lastly is the latest release, which might be difficult to track down before the holidays, 123 Sesame Street. I think this would make a great gift for a family of builders. A quick smattering of sets to mention before ending with Star Wars. There's a large Jurassic Park set available for older builders, but I would only really recommend this if you know the person you're buying for is a J-Park fan. Same thing goes for the very cool set from Stranger Things, aptly named The Upside Down. A theme that I've avoided talking about all the way up until now is Technic. I personally don't like Technic, but I know a lot of LEGO fans do. I save them until now because the only sets that I hear mentioned that are universally loved are the larger vehicle sets like the Bugatti Chiron, Land Rover Defender, and Lamborghini Cayenne. Before you go buying any of these, or any Technic for that matter, you must check to see if the person you're buying for likes Technic. A lot of people just don't like this. I know if I received one of these as a kid, or even now as an adult, it would be going right back to the store in exchange for something else. Speaking of going right back to the store, I must advise you to avoid buying any of the Mosaic sets. There are 4 of them, they look like this, and yeah, don't buy these, unless someone specifically asked for them. Even if they are the biggest Beatles fan that ever lived, don't buy these. Okay, we're finally on the last section of our list, Star Wars sets over $100 for teens and adults. Unfortunately, a lot of these will be very difficult to track down this year due to COVID-19 supply issues, but if you stay vigilant, you might be able to snag one before the holidays. There are 7 sets to mention here, and I'll go in order from lowest price to highest price. First up, the Razor Crest that I mentioned in the kids section. This would make an equally great gift for a teen or adult who loves The Mandalorian. Next up, we've got the A-Wing Starfighter. Not a bad choice, but not the best on this list. Same goes for the Tantive 4. Unless someone specifically asked for these, I would go for something else. And that something else could be possibly the coolest set on this list, newly released Mos Eisley Cantina. This set has tons of amazing details and should please any teen or adult LEGO Star Wars fan. The last 3 sets should nearly be impossible to find this year, and they are also the most expensive sets on this list. So I would only recommend searching for these and buying them if someone's holiday will be absolutely ruined without receiving these. The Death Star, Imperial Star Destroyer, and Millennium Falcon. Like some of the other sets I mentioned on this list, these sets are massive and take up a ton of room, especially the Falcon once it's assembled, so be cognizant of space restraints if purchasing any of these this year. Wow, that took a lot longer than I originally anticipated. Hopefully you found something in there for the LEGO fan in your life, and if you have any questions, please drop a comment below. I'm really good at responding and helping out. If you want more content like this, then I highly recommend subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. You can also check out our podcast. Just search for the Toy Talk Guys in your podcast app of choice, or click the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time.